All right. Thank you, Diana, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Robert Wagner. I'm product manager here at UiPath, dealing mainly with integrations. And it's a pleasure for me today to speak to you about what we're doing with Microsoft and how we integrate with each other. And I also prepared some agenda for you so you get like an idea what you will can expect from this presentation today. So the first four bullets is more theoretical thing, and I will start with the why you should care about integration. I do believe that integration is something extremely valuable, and I would like to give you a broader insight of what the people, other people think, but also what I believe about integration before we go into the problem itself. What is UiPath committed to solve? Then we'll speak about the automation capabilities UiPath has and how this looks like before I go really into the Microsoft integrations itself, to give you a quick overview of what we do. Then, as already Diana said, we're gonna have a quiz, and we're gonna have two questions in the first part before I go into a demo. So the demo is probably the biggest block where I give you some insight how to build an integration in UiPath Studio into Teams, and I'll also give you some preview about other brand new stuff you might be interested, and show you how we solve problems you guys report to us and how we evolve our product before we go into the second part of the quiz. And we will announce a winner, and we have some swag to give away for you guys. You're our community, and we're really impressed and very happy about you guys, what you're doing in our forums, etc., and also participating in these kind of sessions. So some give back, and then we're gonna have a Q&A session about 10 minutes. So altogether, this will last about 60 minutes, plus minus 5 or 10 minutes. So we'll try to stick to the schedule, but it's definitely not gonna take a lot longer. Yeah, let's get it started. I want to start with the why integration. And I would like to tell you the story about a book called The Medici Effect. Some of you guys probably have heard of this book. It was pretty popular, and it has been published in 2004 by Mr. Franz Johansson, which is a Swedish-American author. And what he describes more or less in this book is that when two disciplines intersect with each other, this is something where you can expect innovation. And in the case of the Medici family, which was a dynasty in northern Italy based in Florence, they were super successful in merchandise, trading, and banking. And they heavily invested into arts. And in these times, also a lot of this ancient knowledge got rediscovered again. And they did not spend everything on wars and things like that, like others did. So they spend a lot of money into arts. And one of the most famous artists they hired was Michelangelo, for instance, and so on and so forth. But without knowing, they actually flattened the path for the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is, at least in my opinion, or I think it's common sense, a milestone in human history, because this is really when innovation and technology and everything lifted up and gave Europe a big boost in science and so on and so forth. So this is the example I want to bring up here. And when innovation happens, and in our case, of course, it is, for instance, when business automation meets, for instance, business apps, which do business intelligence, for instance. So you could have like automated business intelligence or whatsoever. And this is also the case here. when you integrate two disciplines and when experts need each other, and it's very likely that some very innovative things come up. And this is why I believe integration is a major piece to drive innovation. And let me explain this a little bit in more detail, what it means. When we talk to customers, or in my history, when I spoke to customers and you ask them what kind of solution they want to have, it is typically the best of suite. We would like to have one vendor who does it all, right? So there's one vendor, one UI, one unified experience. But unfortunately, there is not a company out there which does it all for a larger enterprise. So what you typically would do is you take a best of breed and you combine it in order to get something similar like best of suite. And this is nowadays a lot more likely to achieve because of APIs. APIs is definitely one of these major pieces in this story. So, APIs are around for a while now. And even 50 years ago, companies were using APIs. Of course, back then they weren't called APIs, but they did integrations. But what really significant changed is in the last 10 or let's say 20 years, the tooling and standardization of APIs make it affordable to integrate with each other. And not only this, also the understanding of APIs. That is a big opportunity if you offer your services as an API, is something which helps your product the same way as it helps other products. Meaning you can have like one best of breed tool and you can bring functionality from another best of breed tool in there. And this enriches your product significantly. And that's obviously something which is happening every day. And if you have a look at the SaaS applications rising every day, and this is really something that we observe. And based on this, I would like to speak about a survey what my Brandon shared with me. And I need to apologize. Sorry, guys, I've got a bit of a cold. I hope that doesn't happen too often, but yeah, 175 applications. That's the average number of applications a large company has nowadays. While I did some research for this presentation, I found some older slides where I think they were like in 2018, where it mentioned that it was 85 apps per large company. So since then, it obviously significantly grew. So 175 is the average count of applications in a large company, and that's massive actually. And it still keeps growing. Like every 4 years, it's gonna increase by 68%. So that's actually massive. And this is something we probably need to find a solution how to deal with that, because the downstream impacts is significant for our users. And the proliferation of SaaS apps for different business use cases actually adds more fragmentation. And that's a big challenge for integration, right? Before we spoke about, yeah, we can integrate these systems, but the problem is there are so many. And I have a couple of friends, they're developer, and when I talk to them and I explain what we're doing with RPA, they say, well, this is what I'm doing also, right? I'm integrating systems with each other, and we can do that. And the problem here is, if you see that from a business process perspective, you don't need to integrate everything with each other. And when you see that from a business process perspective, it's a lot more obvious what you have to integrate. And on top of that, it's like each of these SaaS apps uses different technology for integrating, right? So there's not like a standardized way to integrate these systems with each other. It could be if you have like 3 systems, you have 3 different technologies to do that. So the integration piece is awesome and it's very valuable, but obviously to solve the problem with fragmentation, it's not enough. And as a result of all this fragmentation, processes are becoming time consuming. You know, you have like, I don't know how you guys are doing, but when I'm working on a daily basis here with all these apps, there's a lot of different apps here, and I'm not a business user, but constantly I'm being called and need to do multi-factor authentication and different UI there that works a little different and so on and so forth. So that's quite complicated, but even more risky is the problem with data inconsistency. So data integrity is actually a huge problem for large companies. I don't know how it's with you guys and if you're aware all about this, but there is solutions out there dealing only with integrity, data integrity issues. And just imagine you have system A where one employee adds the company UiPath, for instance, UiPath Inc. or something, and another employee wants to add UiPath as well, but he thinks slightly different, or he just adds UiPath, nothing else. And when you try to combine these data sets, they don't match. It's not the same, right? Then you need to implement logic, how you can bring that together. And that's a problem. And this can be solved with our tooling. And besides that, employees toggle between systems, update information, get data. That's a pretty obvious negative result out of this. And, this leads into demotivation, less productivity. And UiPath is about increasing productivity. And so this is exactly what we try to solve. That's exactly the problem we are actually solving with our products. So just to dive a little deeper, if you have a few on an enterprise, you have from customer experience, from finance supply chain to HR to IT ops, many different solutions. And the problem is process spans all across these systems. For instance, if you have like a process, we start in Dynamics, when, for instance, opportunity gets closed and then you need to do an order in SAP, right? Completely different user interfaces, 2 times login, or handing data from one system to another one, right? But of course, you could also let a robot doing this, which logging into Dynamics and pushing data into the SAP system and making sure that a robot does it right. And of course, this applies also to any thinkable automated process. And for instance, if something starts in ServiceNow, it goes to Dynamics, into Workday until it lands in Jira. And the point here is actually that the process itself is a piece of software running a process on all across these layers and actually connects all these products with each other, right? Without the need to directly link them. And this is really something very important, because that's something from a process perspective. You actually integrate these systems with each other with a process exactly for the processes you need. And this is really something what our products and tools can do for you guys. Sorry. And in order to do that, of course, you need to be able to automate very flexible. Sometimes you have legacy systems. There isn't even an API. And for instance, if you have like a host mainframe system, and you can only automate this on a UI. And other system, for instance, modern SaaS companies, you leverage the APIs in order to make it faster and more stable. But you can build robots who do everything in one end-to-end process. And this is really what you need from an automation perspective. You need to have a very comprehensive offering here and solution to tackle all these challenges. And of course, the more API integrations you can use, the higher you can scale and the faster it runs and the more reliable and stable it will be. So of course, user interface automation is very important, but whenever you see the chance, then you should leverage APIs because of these benefits. And I would even say that if you are a new customer, for instance, or a new user of RP, then you do most likely the most obvious. You automate the things what your users do and let it a robot do. But then when you have automated the first things and then you realize, okay, sometimes this takes too long, or sometimes you find out it doesn't really scale, you should bear in mind that you can bring a lot of these functionality on API layers where you don't even need a UI anymore, meaning you can skip an entire tech stack, namely the user interface technology, which is pretty massive actually, and can just plug into the system directly and make it a lot more stable by doing that. Nevertheless, UI automation is still going to be required, but keep in mind APIs will help you in a lot of situations. And when we speak about API integration, there is a two-way integration we provide, right? So we're talking right now only about API integration, so no UI. And we have the possibility to let a robot, for instance, reach out to, for instance, Microsoft Dynamics or to Teams to push a message there. And I will give you also in my demo example how a robot can push a message into Teams. Or how so-called connector app can trigger a process or an automation directly in the UiPath automation platform. So this is really both directions, right? So sometimes you don't need to trigger something, but sometimes if you really want to optimize the process flow, it is good to trigger an automation when you need it. Of course, there is different ways to do that. You could do this on a schedule, you could do this with some triggers, or like in my example, I will show you a business user can just run an automation directly out of Teams. So that's also something which will be part of my demo later on. So what do we offer here for Microsoft? We on the left side, this is what we call the activity packs. So we have a lot more activity packs than connectors, what we see on the right side. But the connectivity, the activity pack support, for instance, to do something of Office 365, to connect easily to your email clients, send out emails or whatsoever, or in Microsoft Dynamics, do some CRM or whatever you can do there. And like in my example with Teams, that, for instance, update people in the central communication platform you're using. So you don't necessarily have to send emails all the time. You can push messages directly into Teams if you like. Of course, we have integrations for all kinds of services Microsoft Azure platform provides, like face recognition, vision translator, and also integration into OneDrive, SharePoint, where you can deal with files and also text recognizer and so on. This is really in focus for us now because we know that there is a huge opportunity, but also challenges with all these API integrations, like what I mean before with all these SaaS vendors. But it's actually the same thing in the Microsoft environment. There's a lot more products coming up where we have to integrate with, and you can expect more in this area in the future from our end. And I also will give you a sneak preview about our new integration service, where we definitely will be able to do more onboarding of these technologies in the future faster. Yeah, and on the right side, the UiPath connector is something which is in early stage now, right? So you don't need to look for it in marketplace yet or somewhere. It is really in early stage, but I really would love to show it to you guys and get your feedback and what you think about this. Maybe you can share your use cases if you can, but we're going into a private preview most likely November, December. But please check our insiders portal. I'm going to share the link later where you can check and sign in for a private preview. So we always try to listen to you guys and, change and adopt our products and in order to make you fit for your challenges. So that's actually a great foundation where you can build on. And this is only what we do for Microsoft, but as you guys know that there's a lot more. And you can use them all inside one robot, right? You build one robot and you can use all these technologies inside of this process. Yeah, and by this, that's the theoretical part. Now we have more interactive things, but it was really important for me to share why these things make so much sense to me. And let's go to the menti.com. If you guys just put your mobile phones and type in menti.com, it would be great if we have as many participants as possible, because we have to give away some swag in the end. So go to this web page, type in this number, and so I see the first people joining. Wonderful. Just go menti.com 39 19 45 61. You can join from your browser as well, of course. Let's try to get some people in here. I'll give you like 2 more minutes or something, so don't be stressed if you don't find the page immediately. You'll have some time. So let's check, people still joining. Yeah, Diana posted the ID and the URL in the chat if you haven't found it. So let's try to get at least 20 people, so that's a little bit more competitive. All right, some more people joining. Yeah, another one. All right, I think we can kick this off now. All right, before I start, there is a countdown, and also it will say that the faster you click, the faster you know, the more points you will get. And there is also, we do 2 questions now, and one question is a not question. So you need to choose the opposite, right? It's a little bit of a trap, right? But yeah, perfect. We got like enough people here, so let's start it. So answer fast to get more points. Will apps count continue to grow in enterprises? What do you think? No, the problem is solved with SaaS. No, robots will deal with this. Or yes, around 68% every 4 years. Will the apps count grow in large enterprises? Time's up. Perfect. You guys are awesome. Not a single wrong answer. Fantastic. Okay, next question. Question number 2. Maybe they are too simple for you guys. I think it's early in the morning in Americas, right? So you all have fresh brains. Perfect. Okay, let's do the next question. What SaaS solutions do not solve? They do not solve fragmentation, they do not solve scaling, or they do not solve innovation. What is it? Fragmentation, scaling, or innovation? Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's the trap setting question. It's do not solve. I mean, they do not solve the problem with the fragmentation. That's why integration is so important. And yeah, Okay, so let's move on. We have an intermediate scoreboard. Let's see who is in lead. Adam, Alex, I think you guys are equal in front. Perfect. Megan, third place. You guys are pretty close. I think even also for the others, like I did this a couple times already. And, you know, in the last two questions, things can change significant in the end if you're fast enough. So just don't give up, guys. Okay. But Adam and Alex, of course, you guys have good chances. All right, good. Let's move on. I was speaking first about the two ways integration when a robot can reach out, and I'm going to show you the example with Teams, and then how Teams can trigger, for instance, an automation in the UiPath platform. So let's go into the demo. Let's see what the demo god has prepared for me today, and hopefully has a good day. So, okay. Anyway, I think that's all right. For the ones who don't know our studio is our design time. This is where we design all our processes. And as you can see here, you can build like sequences, and all these steps going to be processed then by a robot. And here you design them, and you can see I've expanded already the available native integrations we have. But of course, there's a lot more activities we have which deal with Excel, UI, but also PowerPoint, and so on and so forth. So this is really only the integrations. And you can get them by clicking on package, the Manage Packages Explorer. And when you type in and search for Microsoft, then you'll see there's a lot of stuff you can use from Microsoft. And that's not all native integrations. There's a lot of libraries you can use in our studio to develop robots and processes. And the ones with this icon, these are our activities. Of course, you could also search for Microsoft, text activities, whatever. And you just click here on install. And when you go on save, it will show up here. And so I did this also for all these integrations here. And when I then just click on save, then they will land here. Sometimes for the older integrations, just to make you aware, they are in here, but it's mostly for others like for SAP, which we have for longer now. But all the newer ones are all will pop up here. Sorry. So the process I've prepared for you guys is pretty simple, actually. Get some credentials, because I didn't want to expose my credentials with you guys in a live webinar. And then we are processing some input arguments. And we're going to see what these input arguments will do then later in our Teams app. And so we're processing these input arguments, what a user typically would enter into a UI, for instance, for an onboarding process: first name, last name, birthday, department, and so on and so forth. And then we should do some onboarding, but I skipped that. I want to show you with how to, sorry. How to push a message into a Teams channel, for instance, to inform my colleagues that the onboarding of an employee was successful. And I don't do the prepared thing. That would be too easy. I'm gonna comment it out. I'm gonna build this from scratch. So I have my Teams activity here, and I'm going to use Microsoft Teams scope. This is typically how integrations start. First, we need to give it a scope. And in this scope, we have to enter application ID, tenant ID, for instance. And this is something what we require in order to be authenticated in the Microsoft platform. And this is already something I need to say, that's already some hurdles which causes some friction for many of our users. And I fully understand that. And I will and I will show you how we address exactly this problem. But for now, I show you how it's still working in the old world. I'm pressing F1, and here is the documentation. And here it is Microsoft activities use the identity platform. And this is where we need to register our robot, more or less. So when I click on that, I just pick this QRX user. So what I need to do here is register an app, and that's called app registration here. It's actually pretty straightforward. I did this already for my demo here. You go here on new registration, give it a name. I don't know, test 1, 2, 3, but that's already it. So that's not really complicated, but the fact that you need to go somewhere else where you need to have specific privileges, like I need to be signed in here as an admin, right? And if you don't have an admin account, and which is very likely in a large organization, that's already a problem, right? But this has to be done before. But I'll show you in a few minutes how we address this in the future. But for now, I'm going to pick this, the application ID, enter it here, and go into the tenant. It's the tenant, copy this to clipboard, paste it in here. Then here's one thing I typically configure, because that's the timeout for the sign in, right? When we run the first time the robot and it's not signed in yet, then it will pop up the for the identity server and lets me enter username and password. If I give it a little bit more than 60 seconds, then I have some time to enter my credentials. Unfortunately, for my demo, that happened already. I was not able to clear that, so that's not going to be the case for me now. But when you would do that, you will have this pop-up window. And don't forget, this will also be the case if you run it unattended on your robot's machine. So you have to do that one time. All right, but here I prepared this secure string password for you guys, and or actually for the sign in. So that's already it for the application scope. If you know what to do, I think it's really straightforward. If you don't know, it can be challenging. And let me just show you how that would look like in the future. And there will be additional sessions around this in the future, like next week already, about the integration service. And this is what I would like to give you a really quick preview, but I will not go into any details here. But I think it's so cool that I just want to present it in here as well. So the way you're going to do that in the future, the stuff I just showed you, which is definitely a problem, is, for instance, if you go here for signing into Microsoft Outlook, for instance, the way you can register this, just add a connection. It will ask you with the user, and if you have only one user, you won't get asked for this. And what you get here, that's actually my connection, and I can then go into the studio and just pick this connection. I cannot demonstrate this today because this studio version is not the one for the early for the private preview yet. But this is how this will look like in the future. And I believe that's really awesome. And I hope you guys also appreciate what we're doing in this direction. So we heard you with these challenges, and that's going to be solved pretty soon. And we're going to launch a private preview like next week for this integration service. And we probably will not be able to do sessions with all of you guys, but I hope with the most of you guys. So, but let's come back here to reality now, to how it works at the moment. So what I want to do is I want to send a message to a Teams channel. So I go here and go for message, and I pick send message. So that's what I want to do. But here I find out, okay, I need a team ID and I need a channel ID. And I know that's just in case I have an existing chat and the message is something I can then put together myself, but I need a team ID and a channel ID. So how I'm going to do that? And that's a little bit different in these native integrations. You need to think a little bit like an app, right? Because when you have a user interface, what's happening behind the scenes is actually your app is doing the stuff I'm doing right now. So the first thing is get the team. So we go to teams, we get teams because we need the team's ID. And I only pick the ones from where I'm joined. And I have teams here, and I will deal with this one here. So I join teams, and I'll give it a list of teams. Just call it this way. Oh, that was wrong, of course. Of course, I need to do the control thingy here in order to create the variable. And I'm gonna disable this now. And I will just run that, but I will take a breakpoint here. So when I run this, it will get the credentials first, process the input arguments. Of course, right now there are none. And then we're here. And when I step into this, I can see with the list of teams, if I expand this, that's the response I'm getting. So this is the response I got. And I can see here, I have the test team, and I also have this HR team here. And I want to use this HR team, and I want to paste something into this general channel. But at least I found the team now, and I will pick this identifier and paste it in here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I need the channel ID. So I'm going to channels, get channels, and I'll use my team ID here in order to retrieve the channels. So let's set the breakpoint here, and let's give it some output. So we're gonna have the list of channels. All right, and let's do the same thing again. Let's step into this, and then we get the channels. Here they are. And we can see we have the general channel, and that's actually the one we want to use. I want to post a message into the channel here, and that's the ID for it. So I'm just copying this, and let's paste this in here. I need to stop the runtime first. So I'm gonna just get this here, and then I just hello America. So let's fix the typos. Let's do enable here. And yeah, so what I'm expecting now is that we're sending a message to this channel. Let's see if this works. Here it is, perfect. So what this example, what I wanted to demonstrate here is, think about what you want to achieve. Try to think about the end result and collect upfront everything you need in order to do that, like with the send message, right? And I also wanted to give you some how I do that. I'm certainly not the best and professional RPA developer. I'm product manager, but I play around with these tools from time to time. So I hope that gave you some insight how to get started with a native integration, for instance, with Teams. So you have seen this live now. So what I would do now is, first of all, I prepared something upfront here because I want to send like a more meaningful message then to my user, because we have these input arguments and I want to send a message about the user which just has been onboarded to the channel. So I'm going to use this one. Let me enable this, and the stuff I just built, we disable it. And then we publish this and deploy this to our orchestrator. Actually, I did this up front, and this is then available here. Let me log in into cloud. I need to be careful because I'm working in 3 different environments with 6 different users, and sometimes I'm wondering why don't see what I'm expecting, but it looks promising. Perfect. Do you see here? That's the process I've just updated. Let's update it to the latest version. And here it comes, our Teams app. And that's Teams. And when you go to apps, in the future, once we launched it, you will find us in this marketplace here. Right now, we deployed it only internally, and that's only built for our work. So I deployed it in my environment. So if we start the private preview, I will give you the manifest. You will deploy it in your Office 365 subscription, and then you will see that the same way here as I do. So when you click on this, then you can attach this to a channel. I did this up front to accelerate a little bit. So once you did that, you sign in, you get this UiPath app attached as a tab to a channel. And you can see that I'm loading all the processes which I'm enabled to see in the orchestrator with my user. I can see this list of processes here shown in Teams. Right in the communication platform where I'm doing my daily work. So I don't need to leave the app. I just can work in Teams. And we're doing that because a lot of our customers report that Teams is their gateway for their business users. So we said, okay, we want to be at the right place where our business users are so they can consume automations from where they are. And not only this, we will also send the notifications to the place where they are. So we will make use of the activity channel here in Teams. So let's get it started. So we have this HR onboarding process. And when I click on configure and run, remember, I showed you before in the studio, these input arguments. So when you design input arguments here, they will automatically be used to render a user interface for you here. Of course, it's probably not as fancy and as sophisticated as you could do that with UiPath apps. That's true, but it supports the basic data types like string, like integer, and also Boolean, but also date pickers. And let's onboard something. I'm gonna onboard Hans Wurst and to QA department, and he's gonna start 1st of November. And you could now also save this. We have planned for the future that we also allow our customers, our users, to push this to a queue item. But nevertheless, now I'm running a process which I've just deployed. And when I click on run, you can see very similar to our assistant that we have this running up here, and we got a message, and we were informed that we received your process, because right now we are doing only unattended processes, meaning that runs right now on my laptop. And it just pushed the message, employee Hans was successfully onboarded for QA department. So that's actually the process sent to me. This is something the app sent to me. And once it's done, and let's wait a little bit. Actually, we don't need to wait. That's the cool thing about this. As soon as it's done, we get like a notification, right? And it's already done because it was a short dummy process. But if it's a longer running process, I don't need to sit here and wait. I get informed once it's done. So I can also see the recent ones. We also support mobile because we thought, if somebody wants to run a process from his mobile phone, this grid view doesn't really work properly. So we have also a card view. So people can make use of this. And for instance, with this process, just fill it in and you can also launch it. And yeah, we also have, which is very important, a dark mode. Looks pretty cool. But even more important, we have a high contrast mode for people with disabilities. Okay, then, yeah, we also have, yeah, you can stop processes, obviously. And this is like the very first version we have so far. And of course, there's lots of ideas already. And I would be happy if you guys share your ideas with me. And otherwise, you can always, of course, sign in into private preview as soon we launch this. But it's most likely going to happen end of November or December somewhere. Yeah, so that's the Teams app. Did I forget anything here? I don't know. You can ask questions if you like then, if I missed something. But just a quick recap of what I've showed you. Yeah, I was going to skip the activities now, but the integration service is something which will enable you to sign in into other systems a lot easier, right? So that the sign-in experience is just so different. It will also support things like triggers, I forgot to mention, I guess. And we're ramping up. We have already for the private preview quite a couple, and these connections, technology support is growing really fast. And you guys can go to our RP Insider program and sign in for a private preview. I cannot promise that we'll pick all of you guys, but depends a little bit also on, you know, where we want to get feedback from, etc. But it would be fantastic if you sign in and just to give us more possibilities. And I think we're also going to do some interviews and surveys, and it will really help us to build the right product for you guys, what you really need. The Teams app, as already mentioned, you can run automations and receive status notifications, but it's currently really in an early stage, and a private preview will be announced. So don't search for it somewhere on our marketplace or somewhere else. Please be patient, but nevertheless, I'm curious for your questions. And if you guys have ideas, share it. You can always try to connect me on LinkedIn or at my email address. It's just robertwagner.uipath.com, or just paste it into the chat here. All right, it's quiz time, another time. I hope you guys are still here, and yes, sign in to menti.com once more. I think let's see. Yeah, we still have a lot of people in here. That's great. So maybe let's give the ones who are not in there yet some 1 or 2 minutes to get ready. So we had like a 2-pack leading this. So, but you know, as all these other sessions before have proven that there is always some people catching up in the second round. All right. I think you can get started. So question number 3, I'll hit enter now. So get ready, guys. Answer fast to get more points. Type of automation UiPath does not support. API automation, UiPath does not support UI automation, UiPath does not support production line automation, or UiPath does not support process automation. What's the right answer? Yeah, well done. Yeah, that's misleading a little bit sometimes. Don't worry. That just happens all the time. And to be honest, in a previous session, I ran into my own trap setting question. And so don't worry about this. So question number 4, I'm going to hit enter now. What will be launched in October as private preview? Is it the Teams app? Is it the UiPath Rocket Ship? Is it the integration service, or is it a movie called robots take all over the planet. Yeah, only 5. Yeah, but that's not so bad. I just recap the Teams app, please. It's not available in October, but rather in November or in December. But the integration service, you guys can go for a private preview this month already. All right. Unfortunately, we don't have a rocket ship yet, but who knows? Maybe one day, like like Elon Musk or something. Let's see. Yeah, and we have a winner to announce, the leaderboard. Let's see, how's it going? Whoa, 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 whoa. Alex, you won. You get some swag from us. Please reach out to Diana. You get some swag, and I hope you like it. Thank you so much, guys, for participating in this challenge here. Diana, just let me know when you have Alex contact.
Sure, Alex, if you can just put it in the chat, that'd be great.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's go back to Q&A. So let's see if we have some questions in the chat. Diana, can you help me a little bit with this?
Oh, sure. So I have a couple of questions for you. So Kyle wanted to know, will integrations only work with 21.10.0 to start with?
Actually, no. Integrations work. We have all different kind of integrations, and we started to build integrations, I think, a couple of years ago. And depending when we started to build, and depending when we built this, the integration is capable with this version. And the easiest way to find that out, let me try to check this. Let's see if I find let's call it, let's the Teams, for instance. I think it is somewhere in the docs. I think you need to check the docs, but it's not everything 21.10. We have some supported versions, Matrix, somewhere. I have to Google now. If you leave me a message, I can send this to you later. Or if you Google it, depending, or maybe you mean the integration service. If you mean the integration service, this will definitely start with 21.10 and not earlier. And most likely I don't know when the general availability will be, but it's the minimum version will probably be GA version. But this is something we will announce as soon as we're there.
Yeah, and Kyle, feel free to unmute yourself and clarify if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert, the next question I have is from Sean. Are Power Cloud products like Outlook to Excel compatible with UiPath bots?
I think I need to read. Are Power Cloud products like Outlook, Excel compatible with UiPath bots? Yes. Well, Power Cloud products like Outlook. I'm not sure if I get the question correct, but we have all kind of integration with Outlook, Excel, and I'm not sure what you mean with Power Cloud products. If you mean like Office 365, for instance, yes, we are compatible with that. But there is Power Apps out there, like Power BI. If you like. Otherwise, I would just say, yeah, Outlook, Excel, all this stuff a business user needs on a daily basis, that's supported. But we don't have yet, for instance, but muted. So I'm not sure. I just got. I think Diana. I think somebody's muting me. It's probably you, right?
Yeah. So
Okay. Should I shut up already, or?
no, I can hear you now.
Not just kidding.
Sean, can you talk?
Now I can.
Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it was Power BI, like taking your email from 365 and putting it on Excel sheets. And then I'm wondering, well, if I do that with Power BI, would I want to do that with UiPath or something like that? Are these competing with each other, or are they comparable? I mean, compatible.
Well, I think this use case should work, but of course, I probably would have to look a closer look to the use case. But that's actually what we usually support, right? We don't have a direct Power BI integration, but the use case, as far as understood it, that should be compatible.
I've got a question too. So first off, like this is awesome. Like we just got Teams. We're trying to figure out some new ways to leverage it. I'm definitely going to be pushing for this. Like we could have one project per channel. Everything could be wrapped up nice, neat in there. So like my use case is we have business users and they have an input file. Our bot takes that input file and throws it into SAP and sends them a confirmation. So my question is around sort of like building an interface in Teams where a business user can go to the channel, go to that automation, select the input file that they want processed, and push the start button.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dan, for this. This is a use case we definitely want to address. The integration into Teams resources is not as far as we want to have it in the future, right? Because here you could click and theoretically you could list files, or you could list users, or I don't know, right? This is something which definitely would connect sources in Teams more with robots, right? Where users don't need to type in and do all that, right? Where understand you're correct with that this is what you're looking for.
Right, like they could put like the file path and we could take that as an input and the bot could say, all right, take this file path and use it. Mine is more maybe around like, I don't know, if like uploading it as like a blob or maybe trying to put that in to the data manager somehow. But either way, like I'm pumped to watch this thing get built out. Yeah, it's
cool.
It's totally fine if it doesn't exist yet. You guys are constantly building new stuff, so I'll be able to look at it.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Dan. We are looking for these kind of use cases, and what you described, that's actually what we want to go for. Really, what we want to bring automation to the users, and try to take the opportunity to even connect them closer, right? To really attach these processes, ideally more closer to the sources in here. So if you guys make it to sign in for the private preview, which would be fantastic to share and work on this.
Oh, man.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dan.
And then Robert, I have another question. Does the UiPath connector for Microsoft Teams have a cost? Or is it included when purchasing a specific UiPath license?
It's actually free, right? It's totally free. The only thing, you can only use it if you have an orchestrator and a robot license, right? Because you need the services to run something. Because the app itself doesn't do anything meaningful besides handing over data to a process and picking up status notifications or whatsoever, right? But the app itself does not cost anything.
Great, thanks for that. So that's the rest of my questions. Does anybody else have any questions? If you'd like to unmute yourself and ask. Okay. Robert, do you want to just end up with the community sites?
Yes. I'm just gonna, this is today. That's what we did today, better together. And next week, we're going to have a session around the integration service, which is really awesome, where you'll definitely learn a lot more about the integration service, what it does, what's its capabilities, where it comes from, and where it goes. And after on 4th of November, we're gonna have automate cross systems, IT, SM processes through APIs with UiPath integration service. You see, APIs play a big role in our next series of events, and hope you guys found this valuable, what I showed you today, and we'll see you guys again in one of the next sessions. So thanks a lot for your participation. Thank you, guys, and join our community, be informed about the sessions we're doing, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.